Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Major college football playoff implications are on the line this Saturday as number 7 Cincinnati travels to South Bend to take on number 9 Notre Dame. And guys, this is a top 10 matchup that will live up to the hype. It is a top 10 matchup that we've been waiting on, anticipating all season long, and now it is finally here. Cincinnati, fresh off a bye week, sitting at 3-0, already have a road victory at Indiana to their name. Notre Dame coming in at 4-0, fresh off a 41-13 annihilation of Wisconsin just last week in Chicago. Two teams that deserve to be in the top 10, two teams that will make this game historic, will make it fun, and we are here to break down everything you need to know for this game and share our potential winner, our predicted winner, for this playoff elimination game, potential playoff elimination game. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and also make sure to check out everything down in the description below, especially signing up for those expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Our Week 5 college picks just came out yesterday. Our Week 4 NFL picks also just came out yesterday over on our website. If you haven't signed up for those today, do it now so you don't miss out on this week's picks and you don't miss out on anything else we have to offer you over the course of this season. So again, the expert picks over on thegridironexpert.com. Link for that down in the description below. So let's take a look at this game, guys. Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and we said a few seconds ago, we said it's a potential playoff elimination game. It is certainly for Cincinnati. If the Bearcats lose this game, they will not have a shot at the playoff. We know that. We know the committee does not really respect Group of 5 programs, and we know that even if they were to run the table after this game, this one loss, even though it's a road game against a top 10 opponent, would not even give them a chance to get in over another Power 5 team. So this is huge for Cincinnati. They need to win this game and then run the table the rest of the way. Notre Dame, they could avoid a loss here, maybe. But you can't help but wonder how much that would hurt them in the playoff committee's eyes, because the strength of schedule going forward is tough, but not nearly as good as we thought. USC, not as good as we thought. North Carolina, not as good as we thought. Stanford, not really. The opportunities are there for Notre Dame, but maybe not as much as there is right here. Big win over Wisconsin. Can they get a win over a top 10 team now on their home turf? So a potential playoff elimination game, guys, for a Group of 5 team and independent. And I would say those are two very difficult spots to be in if you're trying to make that Final Four. So let's take a look at the offense going into this game. We'll start with the road team. We'll start with Cincinnati. We know the Bearcats under Luke Fickell, they're very, very balanced. They always have been. This year's no exception. 255.3 passing yards per game, 165 rushing yards per game. But really, the entire Cincinnati offense revolves around the one guy, and that's their quarterback in Desmond Ritter. 748 yards through the air this year, 7 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. They're leading an offense that's averaging 43 points per game. And really, for Cincinnati, they have a very small sample size. They've played, like Miami, Ohio, Murray State, and Indiana. And obviously, the win over Indiana was impressive. A road win, winning that game by 14 points. But only 3 games, only one against a quality opponent. And that Indiana team, not nearly what we thought they would be in 2021. So that's one thing. This is really Cincinnati's first true test, and they're lucky to be getting that bye week coming into this one. The one thing I'm looking for in this game out with Desmond Ritter is his ability to run. He has less than 100 rushing yards this year, but we do know he can run the football. And I think his ability to extend plays, to escape the pocket from this Notre Dame pass rush, to maybe have a couple design quarterback runs in there to keep the Notre Dame defense honest, that's going to be the major storyline for me. That's going to be the major storyline for me because we know they have Jerome Ford. We know Cincinnati has Ford, who has over 300 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns, averaging 6 yards per carry this season. Pretty dang good. But Desmond Ritter's ability to run the football on 3rd and short, 2nd and short, something like that, and obviously ability to extend plays, escape the pocket, and still make the throw, that to me is going to be the key in whether or not Cincinnati's offense can really gel and can really get going in South Bend. When you look at Notre Dame, we know that their offense is pretty dang good too, but they're a little bit one-dimensional. They're averaging 286.3 passing yards per game, a fantastic mark, led by the Wisconsin transfer Jack Cohn at quarterback, who's thrown for 986 yards, 9 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. But the big concern, and it's been there all year, is their run game. Notre Dame is only averaging 81.5 rushing yards per game. And you can't blame that on the poor showing against Wisconsin. We knew Wisconsin was going to have one of the best rushing defenses in the country. And they showed that. Held Notre Dame to 9 rushing yards on 32 carries? But But Notre Dame's offensive and running game struggles were happening well before they met Wisconsin. Kyron Williams has only put up 244 yards this year to just 2 touchdowns. The offensive line for Notre Dame lost a lot from last year, and they have struggled really finding their groove and their rhythm in 2021. They have to find a way to create holes for their running game. They have to find a way to protect Jack Cohn, because this Notre Dame offensive line, guys, has already allowed, in 4 games, has allowed 20 sacks. They've allowed 20 sacks, including 6 last week to Wisconsin. 6 last week to Wisconsin. They're allowing about an average of 5 sacks per game. And we know the Cincinnati defense can exploit that. We know the Cincinnati defense from top to bottom is one of the best in the country. And another thing I want to add on Notre Dame, too, offensively, is I have complete faith in Jack Cohn. I really do. Now, this guy has looked better at Notre Dame than he ever did during his time at Wisconsin. And I think he's really starting to find his groove in South Bend. But we have something to keep in mind. Notre Dame's victory last week was impressive, 41-13 over the Badgers. It should be noted that 21 of those 41 points, though, came off of special teams or defense. They had 2 pick sixes at the end of the game, had a 96-yard kickoff return for a touchdown early in the fourth quarter. You take that away, it is a, 20-13 type game? Again, not saying Wisconsin wins, but it's a lot closer than that score shows. Notre Dame, again, give credit to the defense for that, give credit to special teams, not taking anything away from that. But their offense still has to find a way to put up more points. They've only put up 27 against Purdue. They put up 41 against Wisconsin, but really they only put up 20 offensive points. They've got to find a way to gel, and to do that, they're going to have to find a way to run. They can't stay one-dimensional. When you look at the defense, guys, we go back to Cincinnati. Like we just said, they have one of the best defenses in the country, and we know that, and we have come to expect that. The Bearcats are allowing just 298.7 yards per game. And I always say, if you're on average allowing less than 300 yards of offense per game, you're doing a pretty good job. I've always said that. And 298.7, less than 300. Not too bad for Luke Fickell and the Bearcats. The big number I'm looking at here is the fact they're only allowing 160.7 passing yards per game. So they're allowing a little over 130 rushing yards per game. Not a bad mark, but the 160.7 passing yards, that's very impressive. And again, like we mentioned, they have a small sample size. Indiana's their biggest test, toughest test. They won that game by 14. But even then, Michael Penix has been struggling. Can't really hang your hat on Miami, Ohio, or Murray State. Nothing to brag about there. Cincinnati won those games dominantly, as they should. But still, I don't think the numbers that we're seeing here, yes, are reflective of this season, but they carry over from last year, too. Cincinnati's defense is so experienced. You know, you can't say, oh, their numbers are skewed because they haven't played anybody. No, they're good because they're good. This defense is elite. It is good. The Bearcats are allowing us 23.3 points per game. Or excuse me, that's Notre Dame. We'll get to there in a second. But the sample size is very small. And you look at the rest of the defense here. 9 turnovers Cincinnati has already forced. 9 turnovers the defense has already forced. And I think that comes to show how strong this secondary is. And we'll talk more about being one-dimensional a little bit, but I worry more about Notre Dame in this game throwing the ball against the Bearcats than running. Obviously, but they're not going to be able to run. They haven't been able to do it all year. Cincinnati's front 7 is strong enough. Their secondary, though, many say, is the strength of this defense. It doesn't bode well for Jack Cohn and the Fighting Irish. Look at Notre Dame, and they are allowing 23.3 points per game. We'll touch more on that in a second. But the major storyline here is not just the defense. I mean, this is going to be a fun defensive slugfest anyways. But how about Marcus Freeman, right? Marcus Freeman, the former Cincinnati defensive coordinator, is now the Notre Dame defensive coordinator. So a bit of a reunion there for Marcus Freeman and his old school. And Marcus Freeman, guys, was a major reason Cincinnati's defense is so good this year. That's a major reason they're so great this year. All those players that he got there, they were his. He recruited those guys. And you look at Freeman, guys, it hasn't worked out as well at Notre Dame as it did at Cincinnati. Things are a little bit different. 23.3 points per game, not a bad mark. They're allowing 365.3 total yards per game. Not a horrible mark, but and then 234.5 passing yards per game. Again, mediocre at best. And that's what you could say about the Notre Dame defense as a whole this year. It's been mediocre at best. They have not been nearly as elite as they were last year under Clark Lee, but they haven't been just god-awful. Right? But they've got to find a way to be better. They've got a way to be good. Mediocre, good. They've got to find a way to do that. You look at Notre Dame, guys. Their front 7, not too bad. 14 sacks so far this year. They have forced 11 turnovers. So Cincinnati and Notre Dame, they're ball hawks. They know how to get after the ball. They know how to create turnovers. And that's going to be such a big key in this game. Obviously, whoever wins the turnover battle, I believe the offense makes the other pay for it, whether it's with a field goal or a touchdown. And in a game that we expect to be relatively close, that could honestly be the difference maker. One thing I'm looking for here is this battle in the trenches again. Notre Dame giving up 20 sacks already this year. Cincinnati, we know, can exploit that. Notre Dame has 14 sacks defensively. Cincinnati has only given up 5. Through 3 games, they've given up 5. So can Notre Dame find a way to break through that line, to create pressure on Desmond Ritter, and find a way to make the Bearcats be one-dimensional? Because we believe Cincinnati can do that. Can Notre Dame do that? Can Notre Dame break through that Cincinnati offensive line, which is very, very strong, pressure Ritter in a very hostile environment, force him into some bad throws, force him into some sacks, force him into some second and third and longs, because those are ones that I don't believe, especially in South Bend, that Cincinnati will be able to pick up. That's going to be the key, is finding a way to make Cincinnati one-dimensional. And to me, the best way to do that is going to be by taking away the pass, taking away the deep game as well. So what's going to happen, guys? What's going to happen in South Bend on Saturday afternoon? This is really, really a tough game to analyze. It's a tough game to predict. I have been back and forth on it all week. I know a lot of you guys have been back and forth on it all week. And when you look at this game, it is a battle between 2 great coaches, Luke Fickell and Brian Kelly, 2 great defenses. Like we just mentioned, the numbers for both don't lie. Both are very solid, up there in the top 50 or so in the country. But this is a game that I do think in the end is going to be won up front. It's a game that I think is going to be won in the trenches. And last week I said that too. I said that too last week, and I picked Wisconsin over Notre Dame and got burned. I got burned by that pick. And I might be getting burned again here, but I'm going to have to go with Cincinnati. I'm going to pick the Bearcats to take down Notre Dame in South Bend. And I know for my Fighting Irish fans, you're going to hate me for that, and I expect you to. But I picked Cincinnati back in the preseason, and I'm not going to falter from that. I picked Cincinnati to upset Notre Dame back in June, July, whatever that was. And I'm going to stick with that prediction here because that's how much faith I have in Luke Fickell. That's how much I think a bye week actually benefits Cincinnati coming into this game. A whole week of prep for their biggest game of the year. The Bearcats know what's at stake. They know that if they really want to make the playoffs, they have to win this game. There's no room for error. And I don't think they commit many errors. I think they come in. I think they do a good enough job pressuring Jack Cohn. I don't have faith in the Notre Dame rushing game. I don't have faith in the Notre Dame offensive line. So I think the Cincinnati front 7 does just enough to create pressure, just enough to create negative plays for this Notre Dame offense. One that I think is one-dimensional. They're going to have to air it out constantly with Jack Cohn because they're not going to be able to run. And obviously Cincinnati's secondary will be able to hone in on that pass. Again, 9 turnovers already forced this season. I think they forced at least 2 in this game against the Fighting Irish. And they do just enough on the road in South Bend to upset Notre Dame. Even though Cincinnati is a slight favorite in this game, I still call it a mini upset as South Bend is not an easy place to play. The Bearcats improved to 4-0. And if they weren't getting respect before, they better be getting respect now. Because if they beat Notre Dame on Saturday, they will be legitimate playoff contenders, and the dream will be alive for the Bearcats. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. Check everything out down there, including our expert picks over on the website, thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for those today before the games get started on Saturday. We've already got our picks out. They came out on Wednesday, so sign up for those today so you don't miss out on any analysis this week and, of course, over the rest of the season. Again, it will be one of the best decisions you make all year long. So sign up for that today. Link down in the description. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.